Please adhere to YouTube's selected guidelines before viewing the content of this video. I do not encourage or condone any products, actions, or behaviors shown in this video. All videos are produced in a safe, professional, and controlled environment. Please do not attempt to replicate any actions performed during the video. All actions are performed by professionals.
Alrighty, so today I'm going to be smoking a Partagás cigar for the first time, which I am looking forward to doing much more so than not, as I have heard some pretty dang good things about Partagás as a brand. I've heard they make quality tobacco products, and so as such I have been curious to find out just what a Partagás cigar is actually like for myself. And hopefully smoking this cigar today will give me a good idea of what Partagás as a brand is actually like. To say the least, I am looking forward to making this video today, and I'm looking forward to smoking this cigar right here. But what is Partagás as a brand? Well, Partagás is a cigar brand of Cuban origination that has been around for much longer than not. Partagás as a brand was first introduced in 1845, making Partagás as a nameplate almost 180 years old as of the recording of this video today, which is pretty wild if I do say so myself. And from what I can tell from the introduction of Partagás as a brand to around about 1945, 1950, the nameplate grew to become quite reputable and quite well known in general. But in 1960, the Cuban government went ahead and nationalized the entire tobacco industry there, including Partagás as a brand. And so as such, today, Partagás as a brand is split into two parts. One, Cuban, which is currently run by Cuba Tobacco, I think now known as Habanos SA, and one part Dominican. And the Dominican segment of Partagás as a brand was first introduced in 1978 by the previous owner of the Cuban Partagás brand. And today, in the United States, the only Partagás cigars that are sold are the Dominican Partagás cigars, as of course the United States has an embargo on all Cuban products. But nonetheless, from what I can tell at least, the Dominican Republic made Partagás cigars are still very high quality. And within the United States, Partagás as a brand has a higher reputation than not. And it seems that around the world, Partagás as a brand has a pretty high reputation, no matter if they're made in the Dominican Republic and no matter if they are made in Cuba. To say the least, I am looking forward to trying this cigar right here, that is for sure, especially due to the lengthy history of Partagás as a brand. But what is the cigar that I'm going to be smoking today in specific? Well, today I'm going to be smoking and giving a full review to the Partagas Black Label Magnifico, if I remember correctly. I think that's the name at least. This cigar cost me roughly $14. It's made in the Dominican Republic. It has a size of 6x54, and it contains a Connecticut Medio Tiempo Wrapper along with a Dominican Binder and a Dominican/Nicaraguan Filler, if I remember correctly at least. And supposedly, this cigar is very, very, very heavy nicotine-wise, and so as such, I certainly am expecting quite the buzz from this cigar today. But I do suppose, without further ado, I should probably now go ahead and start going over the packaging that this cigar is actually in. Then after that, I should probably go ahead and actually get the cigar out, actually let you guys know what the cigar looks like, what it feels like, what the quality is like. Then after that, I should probably go ahead and get it cut, get it lit up, and actually get to smoking a Partagás cigar for the first time. First off though, as said, we gotta go over the packaging. Not that there's really too much to cover by any means. We can see the cigar itself is just covered in a cellophane, and that's pretty much all that's going on with the packaging, except for this little bit of a sticker right here, just holding the cellophane closed, and this sticker just has the barcode on it, along with some cigar information on it as well. The letters, the words above the barcode right here just say, Part Black Magnifico, 6x54. So just letting you know what the size of this cigar is and what brand this is a part of and what the specific line this cigar is part of as well. But that's pretty much all that's going on the sticker right there. No fancy design or anything like that kind of thing. Without further ado, let's go ahead and just get that all ripped just like that kind of thing. And now let's go ahead and get my first ever Partagás cigar all out of the cellophane. And let's go ahead and just take a look at what it looks like, what it feels like, what the quality is like, and of course, what it smells like as well. And after I put this cellophane in my backpack, because I can't be littering or anything like that, I think I'm gonna go ahead and take a little bit of a sniff of this cigar. Now that I've put the cellophane in my backpack, I think I'm gonna go and take a little bit of a sniff. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. And ooh, this smells really good. Now, the wrapper shade for this cigar, even though it is a Connecticut wrapper, is considered to be a Maduro. So this is a Maduro Connecticut Medio Tiempo Wrapper, apparently. So this cigar is supposed to smoke more like a Maduro rather than a Connecticut, even though the wrapper itself is technically a Connecticut, which is very interesting. And the smell of this cigar is very, I'd have to say unique. It definitely smells more like a Maduro than a Connecticut wrapper for sure. Getting a little bit of, I'd have to say, an earthy, oily sort of smell. And the wrapper itself feels a little bit oily, and it looks just a little bit oily, I definitely have to say. And it just has a little bit of a shine to it as well. Yeah, getting a little bit of earth, getting a little bit of oil, getting a little bit of, yeah, I'd have to say sort of an oily, like sauce-like smell. With a little bit of I'd have to say, cream and nuts under that, I want to say. Very, very, very nice smelling cigar, and definitely a little bit different than I'm used to as well, to say the least. Let's go ahead and now cover the look of the band itself, which is a much more fancy look than not, to say the least. We can see gold at the very top, gold at the very bottom, with an overall, I'd have to say, black, gold, and red color scheme to it. We can see there's some sort of like gold, I'd have to say like leaves up here and everything like that kind of thing. Then we can see there's a ribbon under that, which just has a red background with black text on it. It just says Superiores Importados, which I assume just means superior imports. And then under that, it just says Flor de Tabacos. I'm not exactly sure what that means. Maybe like tobacco factory or something like that kind of thing. Not exactly sure. But then we can see like the Partagos, like the Partagas, sort of like coat of arms or something like that kind of thing. Like we can see a shield right here with a cross, and then another shield with like a different design, and then there's a crown on top of both of them with like some arrows coming out at either side, and those have like some zigzags going on and everything like that kind of thing. That's all sort of in orange. Then under that it just says since 1845. Well, these haven't been made in the Dominican Republic since 1845, but the brand itself has been around since 1845, of course. That's all in orange. And then there's like some black sort of details. I don't know if they're really showing up on camera very well, but there's some sort of like black details. Like the black background up here is just sort of like a, I'd have to say a matte sort of black background, but then there's like some glossy black details as well, and that is very interesting, to say the least. We can see curving right here. There's a little bit of gold, and then another little bit of a red right there with some black text on it, and just says Sifunes YK, which I think Sifutenes, if I remember correctly, that's the name of the guy who restarted the Partagas brand, who was the previous owner of the Partagas brand when it was in Cuba, and then he emigrated to the United States, and that's when he restarted the Partagas brand. If I remember correctly, that was his last name. And I assume the same family might still have some control over Partagas as a brand. I don't know anything for sure, though, I will admit. But then under that, we can just see there is a red ribbon right there, and in black it just says Partagas right just like that, with a black line above and below. And then under that, there's a little bit of a gold line, another little bit of a red line, and then more gold just like that. And that's pretty much all that's going on the, I'd have to say, front of the cigar ribbon itself. Moving on to the side, we can see there's like some intricate sort of just designs that are there for design's sake. Those are all in sort of a yellowish orange, I'd have to say. It just says hechos a mano right there, which just means handmade in Spanish, if I remember correctly at least. And then moving on to the other side over here, we can see it's pretty much just a duplicate design. And that's pretty much all that's going on with the cigar ribbon itself. Overall, a pretty nice, fancy, luxury, classy look, if I do say so myself, although one that is a little bit more modern and edgy than some other cigar bands, I'd have to say. And that's pretty much what's going on with the cigar band, the cigar ribbon, whatever you want to call it itself, look-wise. Let's go ahead and move on to what the cigar actually looks like. And we can see that the wrapper shade for this cigar is much darker than not. It is very dark, if I do say so myself. It is almost black, and the cigar shade for this very much is a Maduro shade, to say the least. the overall look of the wrapper itself is very, very, very dark, very oily, I'd have to say, and overall looks absolutely scrum-diddly-umptious, if I do say so myself. We can see the blend on the inside of the cigar is not nearly as dark as the wrapper itself, and we can see the inside of the cigar definitely has a, I'd have to say, medium to dark blend of tobacco. There's some lighter tobacco down here, there's some darker tobacco up here, overall making for a medium to dark blend of tobacco, if you ask me at least. And overall, you know, looks pretty scrum-diddly-umptious. Quality-wise, this cigar seems to be decent. Not the best quality I've ever seen. There's a little bit of like a nick right there. There's a little bit of a piece that just kind of fell off right there as well, but nothing to any extreme degree. This seems to be a pretty decent quality cigar. Just kind of pressing this cigar just a little bit. It is quite firm, so I am kind of expecting the airflow to be a little bit heavier than not. I'd have to say it's definitely not a squishy cigar, that is for sure. It's definitely a lot more firm than not, especially towards the cap right here. But I think that's pretty much all I wanted to cover about the look of the cigar, about the look of the cigar band and everything like that. Let's go and just smell the cigar one more time. Maybe getting, I'm trying to figure out, there's some other smell in there. It's sort of like a savory-like smell, but I'm not exactly sure what it is. I think it's that sauce-like smell coming through, and I think I'm just kind of getting caught up on it because it's just a little bit different than what I'm used to, in all honesty. But yeah, overall this cigar has a very nice sort of, oh, maybe it's a little bit leathery. That could be it. Maybe it's a little bit of a sort of like an earthy, leathery, sort of creamy, saucy like smell, I'd have to say. I'd have to say that's probably what the smell is really like, in all honesty. Well, I do suppose without further ado, now it is time for me to go ahead and get this cigar right here all cut, and then after that I think it's time for me to go ahead and actually get to smoking this cigar right here. It's a little bit breezy today, I will acknowledge, so hopefully it's not going to be too hard to light this cigar all up, but there's only one way to find out, and that's to try for myself. I've got my little bit of a Vertigo V-cut cigar cutter with me today. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get this cigar all cut, and let's go ahead and get it all lit up. So I'm just going to cut it just like that. There we go. Just did a very tiny little bit of a V-cut, and we can see that this is definitely not a flat end to the cigar. It's very much rounded. So I'm just going to go ahead and just do another one just like that. And do I want to clean that up by any means? Do I want to do another one? I think I might do another little bit of a cut just like that kind of thing, and just another little bit of a cut just like that as well, just to kind of make it just a little bit bigger. Hopefully that will do. I definitely do think a straight cut cigar cutter would probably be best for this cigar right here, but the V-cut is what I've got with me today, so it's what I'm going to be using. And having done multiple V-cuts, I essentially just did the same thing as a straight cut anyway. But without further ado, let's go ahead and grab my triple torch lighter from JR's Cigar Outlet in Selma, North Carolina, and let's go ahead and get a Partagás cigar all lit up for the first time, and let's go ahead and get to smoking a Partagás cigar for the first time. Yes sir, you know what I'm saying. A little bit of leaf just kind of coming off just right there. It's kind of sticking to my lip just a little bit, but no biggie. Right off the bat, the taste of this cigar is, I gotta admit, pretty dang nice. I am liking the taste of this cigar right off the bat. It is a little bit rougher than not right off the bat as well, but the airflow is decent. It's not the best airflow I've ever had from a cigar, but, you know, not bad by any means. I do think I do need to light this just a little bit more, so let's go ahead and do that. And there we go. Now the cigar is all evenly lit. certainly no complaints on my behalf. Let's go ahead and start puffing away just for a couple minutes and figure out what the taste right off the bat is really like. I'd have to definitely say that the airflow is a little bit heavier than not immediately. No big surprise, this is a little bit of a longer cigar than not. It is 6 inches long after all, which is, you know, not badly sized by any means. About average, I guess, you know. But, the airflow initially is definitely a little bit constricted, not like super constricted by any means, but there's definitely a little bit of sort of constrictedness in there, which is definitely making the draw just a little bit heavier than not. Definitely not the most constricted airflow I've ever experienced, definitely not the heaviest draw I've ever experienced. I'd have to say for a cigar, this is just about a medium airflow and a medium draw. Medium heavy, I'd actually have to say. And so far, it's burning a little bit evenly, a little bit more evenly than not. So I certainly cannot complain about that. The quality of the cigar so far seems to be pretty good when it comes down to the just how evenly it's burning and everything like that. I'm gonna give this cigar a minute and try to figure out what the taste of this cigar is really like initially though. Right off the bat, I'd have to say, with those first couple hits I just took, I was very much experiencing that of a slightly spicy, saucy, earthy, leathery-like taste. There's definitely a little bit of sweetness in there. Now that I've let the cigar cool, there's definitely a little bit of sweetness in there. Oh yeah, no, for sure, a little bit of sweetness in there. Also, a little bit of spice, though. For sure, there's a little bit of spice in there. Very interesting. This definitely has a sort of, the best way of describing the taste just right off the bat is very much that of a sort of, it's like barbecue or like teriyaki sauce kind of thing. That's kind of what I'm experiencing just overall taste-wise from this cigar. Interesting. I've really only ever gotten that from one other cigar before, and that was the Drew Estate Blackened M81 cigar, the Metallica cigar. And I've only really ever experienced that sort of saucy barbecue-like taste from that cigar previously, and I'm very much getting a similar taste from this one. Not exactly the same by any means, but that previously mentioned cigar is definitely the most comparable I've ever tried to this cigar right here, right off the bat at least. There's definitely some sweetness in there though. And the sweetness is very much coming across like a, it's kind of like a creamy, almost coffee creamer, like brown sugar, sort of earthy, farmyardy sweetness, which is really nice. And then that spiciness. I'd have to say, actually, there's a little bit of a savoriness in there as well. So there's really a sweet, savory, and spicy portion of this cigar. It's not just sweet and spicy or sweet and savory. It's sweet, spicy, and savory. And the savory portion of this cigar very much is that of a leather with a little bit of a sort of barbecue teriyaki sauce-like tinge to it, I definitely have to say, which definitely brings a little bit more sort of brown sugar sweetness to the cigar. And then there's a little bit of spice, but I'm not really sure where the spice is coming from right off the bat. Not quite sure. Quite yet. But you know, I like this cigar. So far, at least. I don't mind it. Let me just put it that way. I can't say anything for sure as I'm not done with the cigar. But so far, you know, I'm liking the first third of the cigar. It's a nice day today. It's currently 6:33 in the afternoon. And it's a little bit windy today. A little bit cloudy. A little bit cooler than usual, I definitely have to say as well. been experiencing like 90-degree weather these last couple weeks or so, but like 85, 90-degree weather these last couple weeks or so, but today has been like a high of like 78. And since the sun is starting to go down just a little bit more so than not, I'm wearing a little bit of a hoodie. I'm really glad I brought a hoodie with me today. Let me tell y'all what, because it is actually getting just a little bit chilly out here, frankly put. It's nice. It's good cigar smoking weather out here, to say the least. Am I really getting a buzz from this cigar right off the bat? I'm getting a little bit of something, but not anything to like any extreme degree. The first third of the cigar, I definitely have to say, is not like a heavy hitter. It doesn't just slap you in the face. It doesn't hit you like a train by any means. But it's definitely a slow burning buzz that is starting to build up and build up and build up as I continue just smoking the cigar and everything like that. I'm definitely enjoying a little bit of nicotine right now, but nothing to any extreme degree, I'd have to say. Roughness and smoothness wise, this is very much I'd have to say mid 3 out of 4 for a cigar. Definitely not the roughest cigar I've ever had, but definitely also not the smoothest cigar I've ever had either. And I'd have to say a decent amount of the roughness probably comes from the fact that the airflow is a little bit more constricted than not. Yeah, really nice though. Really nice. I just randomly decided to pick this up. I did no research on this cigar before I bought it. I was in Wilmington a couple days ago, and I just stopped by a tobacconist in Wilmington. Stopped by Davis & Son Tobacconists in Wilmington, and I bought myself some pipe tobacco from there, and this cigar along with another one as well. They were great. Highly recommend if y'all are stopping by Wilmington for whatever reason. I highly recommend stopping by Davis & Son. They were great people. Really enjoyed stopping by there. Looking forward to trying the pipe tobaccos I picked up from there in the future. But I picked up this cigar there without even researching it. I didn't ask anybody's opinion on it. I was just like, oh, I want to try a Partagás cigar. So I'll go ahead and pick this cigar up and give it a go and see what it's like, kind of thing. And I'm honestly kind of glad I didn't do any research. I'm glad I just kind of snagged one and just tried it, because this is interesting. This is interesting. Yeah. The nicotine is definitely starting to hit though. I'm glad I brought a little bit of a snack with me today. I have some Kind bars with me today. I might have one in a little bit, frankly, but I know that the Kind bar with the chocolate and the peanut butter, because I've got a peanut butter dark chocolate Kind bar with me today, is going to affect kind of my perception of the taste of this cigar. But with as much nicotine as I'm starting to feel is in this cigar, I might need a little bit of a snack. I think this might be a cigar to smoke after dinner on a full stomach. Might be that sort of cigar. Somebody I think is changing a tire up there. I guess they got a flat. That's not fun. I definitely have to say there's a decent amount of spice to this cigar though. The spice is definitely a prevalent part of the taste. I'm trying to think of a good way to summarize what the first third actually tastes like though. I think I'm gonna give myself another minute or so. And while I'm kind of thinking about what the taste is really like, I'm gonna start talking about what I think good pairings with the cigar are like. Or what good pairings with the cigar would be. Because I've noticed that if I start thinking about like pairings, I kind of get a better idea of what the taste is really like if I start relating it to real world things that I think would pair well with it. So drinks wise, let's go with alcoholic drinks. I think, of course, water. You know, water is a pretty good pairing with pretty much everything. I think water would pair well with this cigar. I also think A Coca-Cola would be a really good pairing with the cigar. I think root beer would be a good pairing with the cigar. I also think, hot chocolate would probably be a good pairing with the cigar. I'm not really a big fan of coffee, I will admit. It's just not really my personal thing, but I do think that coffee would be a good pairing with the cigar as well. There's no really sort of like chocolate or coca taste to this cigar that I'm really noticing to any extreme degree. Maybe there's a little bit in there, but not really that much. Maybe there's a little bit of chocolate in there. You know what? Maybe there is a little bit of dark chocolate. Yeah. And this is kind of what I mean when I say that talking about like what I think would pair well with it kind of gives me a better idea of what the taste is actually like, because then I start thinking and I start realizing that, oh wow, this thing that I just mentioned that I didn't initially think would be like the best pairing ever with the cigar, that I think it's going to be a good pairing, but like I can't really pinpoint why. It's actually because there's that sort of like little bit of a flavor in there. Yeah, I'd have to say there's definitely a little bit of a dark chocolate taste to the cigar as well. Very interesting. That's something I just now realized, just due to the fact that I'm relating it to, well, things that I think would be good pairings. As said though, water, Coca-Cola, root beer, I think hot chocolate, coffee, I think all of those would be good pairings. When it comes down to alcohol, I'm thinking, I don't drink beer personally, but I definitely don't think hard cider would be a good pairing with the cigar. So I'm thinking beer might be a better pairing. I'm thinking as well, a good rum might be a good pairing with the cigar as well. I can't comment on whiskey. I've never had whiskey before, and as said, I've never had beer before either. But when it comes to alcohol, I'm thinking that probably beer, whiskey, rum, I'm thinking all those would be pretty good options. Yeah, I don't think I would mind having rum with this cigar by any means. This definitely has a different flavor than rum, for sure. But at the same time, some similarities to rum I've tried in the past. I've only ever tried one rum in the past, I will acknowledge. I've only ever tried the Bacardi Ocho Reserva or Reserva Ocho aged 8 year, whatever it is. I've only ever tried that rum before, and I really enjoyed it personally. But it's got like a little bit of a sort of like creamy vanilla caramel sort of banana tropical fruit-like taste to it. And you know what? This kind of has like that sort of like, it's got a creamy taste to it as well. Just a little bit of a creamy taste. Like a coffee creamer almost like taste. And while it doesn't really come across like being like purely vanilla caramel or something like that kind of thing, this would still be a good pairing in my personal opinion. Yeah, I do think it would be a good pairing with rum. When it comes down to food, I'm thinking like dark chocolate with like not a lot of sugar would be a good pairing. A Hershey's bar would not be a bad pairing, but it would be better if it was just dark chocolate. I'm thinking, honestly, like a lot of times with cigars and like pipe tobacco, really the only things that come to mind for like good pairings food-wise are like candy and stuff like that kind of thing. But this cigar has that sort of saucy, almost teriyaki-like taste to it. And honestly, I think this cigar would go so well with like barbecue pork or like teriyaki chicken or teriyaki like steak or something like that kind of thing. This would go so well. This would go so well with a steak, frankly put. This would go really well with the steak. It's not really, doesn't really have a meaty taste to it. I wouldn't really say it's got a meaty taste to it. I would just say that it's got like a sort of teriyaki barbecue sauce-like taste to it, which is why I'm kind of thinking it would go well with meats. Other food pairings, teriyaki beef jerky, peanut butter dark chocolate kind bar. I think all of those would go very well with this cigar, at least for the first third. Can't comment on the other thirds yet because I haven't experienced them. I think we're sort of edging up on where the first third is, like just taking a look, that's halfway. Second third probably starts right about there or something like that kind of thing. So I think we're edging up on where the second third is. So I think it's time for me to go ahead and really let you guys know what the first third actually tastes like. I've talked a little bit about it, but nothing to any really extreme degree. So what do I think the first third tastes like? Well, I personally think it's got a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of savoriness, and a little bit of a spicy taste. With the sweetness kind of being that of a creamy, sort of slightly nutty, something just happened over there and just completely distracted me. But the sweetness of the cigar is very much that of a creamy, sort of slightly nutty tobacco taste, with the savoriness very much being that of a dark chocolate sorry, let me restart this. I feel like I can do this better. A little bit of a butterfly or a moth kind of flying around me, hit my leg. my leg. So let's go and restart that. So, as said, I think this cigar has very much that of a sweet, savory, and spicy taste in the first third. And the sweetness, in my personal opinion, is very much that of an earthy, sort of slightly farmyardy. I'd have to say coffee creamer, like nutty sweetness. I'd have to say very much almost like a roasted peanut or roasted almond sort of coffee creamer like taste, with the savoriness very much being that of a more leathery dark chocolate and saucy like taste, I'd have to say. There's that teriyaki and barbecue sauce taste coming in with the savory taste, and then there's a little bit of that spicy taste as well. And the spicy taste also feels like it's coming from that sort of dark chocolate. I feel like I'm getting a dark chocolate spicy taste from this cigar. And I feel like there's something else going on as well that I'm forgetting to mention. Let me go and take a couple hits and think about it. But that's mainly what the taste is like in the first third. And as we can see, it is still burning a little bit more evenly than not. I have not had to touch up the cigar. It was burning just a little bit unevenly, just kind of up there, but it's fixed itself, so certainly no complaints on my behalf. And as I'm continuing to smoke, the airflow is definitely getting a little bit easier, and the draw is definitely getting a little bit easier as well. It's no longer really a medium-heavy draw and airflow. It's now more of a just medium, maybe even medium to light. Like if we're looking at a scale of 1 to 4, very much like a just medium to light airflow, I'd have to say. I think the scale is going to kind of mess up people's perception of it. Roughness, smoothness-wise, has not gotten any rougher by any means. Yes. So that coffee creamer has a little bit of a milky taste to it. That's what it is. Okay, yeah. So I was missing that. So that coffee creamer sort of nutty, roasted peanut, almond-like taste does have a little bit of milkiness to it as well, I definitely have to say. And there's a little bit of brown sugar sweetness in there as well, which is something I completely forgot to mention when I just covered the taste. So I'd have to say there's a little bit of brown sugar sweetness to the coffee creamer-like taste and to the barbecue sauce teriyaki-like taste as well. So very much the taste of the first third of the cigar is that of a sweet, savory, spicy taste with an earthy, sort of creamy, brown sugar molasses, sort of roasted peanut / almond, like milky, creamy taste, with the savory taste very much being that of a dark chocolate with a little bit of sweetness to it, but not much. Very much a savory, almost bitter dark chocolate with an undertone of a semi-sweet sort of brown sugar molasses, leathery, saucy teriyaki barbecue sauce-like taste, with then there being a spicy sort of dark chocolate-like taste under all of that. And that's very much what the taste of the first third of this cigar is like, in my personal opinion. I think I should probably go ahead and grab myself a little bit of screenshots real quick, so let's go ahead and do that. Excuse me. Wow. Oh man, got a little bit of smoke in my eye, I will admit. Ooh. Oh man. Wow. Definitely, when you're puffing away a little bit fast, it gets a little bit rougher, and you start getting smoke in your eye and everything like that kind of thing. Hopefully one of those will do as a screenshot though. We will find out after this video. Worst case scenario, I have to use one of those screenshots anyway, and it just is what it is. Let's go and just grab myself a little bit more. Just a little bit more of one. Gotta do the YouTube face, you know what I'm saying? Gotta do it. Gotta do it. Am I actually gonna use the YouTube face as my thumbnail? I'm not sure, but I gotta do it anyway. And the construction of this cigar seems really good. The ash is stacking very nicely, if I do say so myself. It does feel like we're getting to the point where the ash is probably going to want to fall off soon, so I am going to be a little bit careful about not holding this cigar right over me by any means. But no, the ash is stacking nicely. It's definitely a decent quality cigar, to say the least. A pretty good quality cigar in my personal opinion. It's definitely not a flaky ash that's going everywhere and spreading all over me and getting everywhere and everything like that kind of thing. It's not like that at all by any means, which is something that I do appreciate much more so than not. Overall, ash is stacking nicely. It's not falling off every other second, and it's not going everywhere and flaking everywhere and everything like that kind of thing. That's something that I do appreciate. And for spending $14 on a cigar in my home state, which does have cheaper tobacco products than not, meaning this cigar is a little bit more expensive than not, I would hope that it would be a better quality cigar than not, to say the least. And after all that talk about me saying, oh yeah, it's really good quality, it looks like it's about to ash, but you know, it's not going anywhere. It ashes right on me, right on my sweater, right on my pants. Well, actually not pants, I'm wearing shorts today, but yeah. I'll get up in a minute and brush it all off. Those are really mint, like early 2000s Accord Coupe. I like Accord Coupes, I ain't gonna lie, y'all. I especially like the late 90s, early 2000s. Well, I'm like, honestly, I like all of them. They're all nice. Accord Coupes are pretty sweet, especially the V6 ones. They're low-key sleepers. They are low-key quick. They're nice, but there's a very mint, like early 2000s one that just parked in the parking lot I'm in right now, and it is pretty nice. I'm gonna go and stand up and brush all the ash off. We can see, got a lot more on me than not, but it is what it is. Ain't no biggie. Just glad I grabbed a little bit of a, just glad I grabbed a little bit of a screenshot before the cigar decided to ash. I'd have to say we're probably into the second third now, especially since the cigar decided to ash. And right off the bat, I am noticing a little bit of a different taste. I'm trying to figure out what the taste is. It's sort of herbal? An herbal-like taste to it? Like, almost like herbal menthol, but with no menthol, which is very interesting. Yeah, I do feel like I'm noticing a little bit of an herbal taste just right off the bat. Huh. Well, I'm gonna give myself a couple moments with the second third of the cigar, and then after that I'm gonna really try to start thinking about what the taste of the second third is actually like and whatnot. But overall, I'd have to say, smoking this cigar, this is probably like a solid hour and 15-minute smoker. Took me about, 20 minutes, 30 minutes to get through the first third of the cigar. Second third's probably going to take the same amount of time, and I'm expecting to probably stop this just a little bit into the third, just simply because I am not really one for super spicy finishes, and just a guess, I'm thinking this is going to have a spicy finish. Just a guess, though, based off the spiciness that I experienced earlier on in this cigar. I definitely have to say, though, so far in the second third, the spiciness has been toned down just a little bit. Or, that's not really the right way of putting it. It hasn't been toned down, it's just now coming across a little bit differently. I'd have to say is the right way of putting it. Yeah. Very nice. Taste has definitely changed, though. Just the things I'm noticing just right off the bat, just initially, are that of the teriyaki barbecue taste becoming part of the spicy taste now, along with the dark chocolate, and now the barbecue teriyaki taste. The teriyaki, it's very much, it's less barbecue now and more teriyaki. Like, it's very much 50-50 beforehand, but it's much more teriyaki now, in my personal opinion. And then I'm also noticing a little bit of, like, that has become part of the spicy taste, and then I'm also noticing the earthy, sort of like farmyardy taste has pretty much gone away. There's still a little bit of a creamy, sort of a sweet taste in there. But really the nuttiness has become a little bit more prevalent, I'd have to say, and the milky taste has gone away just a little bit. Interesting. So there's definitely some changes going on at the second third for sure. And I'm definitely starting to feel a little bit of a buzz. I can say this is definitely a full-flavored cigar. It's not the strongest tobacco product I've ever had by any means, but it's definitely a full-flavored cigar, for sure. I'm definitely feeling a nice buzz right now. I'm feeling very relaxed. I'm feeling very chill. I'm feeling quite good right now, to say the least. I'm enjoying myself. And there's a little bit of a concert venue, like, no joke, like 1.5 miles, 2 miles away. And I guess they're having a concert tonight or something like that, because I can literally hear, like, some of the music coming through. Hopefully it's not loud enough where my video gets copyrighted. I don't think it is, especially with all the background noise where I am. But I am able to hear a little bit of the music from the concert venue that is that far away. Between me and the concert venue, there's like a neighborhood and a half. I would not want to live in that neighborhood. They've got concerts going on all the time in that venue. I would not want to live in that neighborhood. It is way too noisy when they're doing concerts. But I gotta admit, it's a good day for a concert today. Great weather, getting a little bit chilly now. Ooh, it's a good day for a concert, to say the least. And it's also a very good day to smoke a cigar. Certainly no complaints on my behalf, y'all. It's pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. Excuse me. Oh man, oh yo, an NSX just drove by, yo. And then a Volvo wagon behind that? Bro, both of those were so clean, yo. That's actually not the first, and like, I never see NSXs in my area. Like, they're not common where I live. I don't live in California by any means. I've seen 2 of them today. I saw one when I was driving here, and then another What? And it's a different one too, because the one I saw earlier was black. That one was red. Yo, what? Man, NSXs are so cool. I like them. I would totally buy one. I can't afford them. Either way, if I had the choice between an NSX and a Lotus, oh man, what's it called? Not an Elise. That's the really small one that I probably wouldn't be able to fit in very well because I'm like 6'1". It's the Lotus. Oh man, it's like the 4-seater one. I can't remember what it's called, but I like those. I like those, and I think they're even cheaper than NSXs right now. Because I mean, like NSXs are like what, like 70 grand? They've been going up in value. I mean, like there's a couple like really nice ones going for over 100, but like bad ones are going for like 70. Whereas I think the Lotus I'm referring to is like, I think you can get one for like 35, 40 grand these days, and it's younger than the NSX as well. Plus it's got a Toyota powertrain, not transmission, but a Toyota engine. So it's basically got a Corolla engine that's been tuned up just a little bit. So you're gonna have Toyota reliability to some extent, except for the transmission, which is gonna be Lotus. So, you know, it's a racing transmission. But is it gonna be reliable? Who knows? I think I'm gonna go ahead and take the band off, just so I don't start smoking the band as well. I'm just gonna go ahead and just put that, oh, it's starting to split, or not split, but just, there we go, just like that. Got that all off now, and now we can see. Still got plenty of the cigar left, certainly no complaints on my behalf. The band is definitely a lot bigger than not, to say the least. I'm gonna go and put this in my backpack, so I don't be littering, and gonna go and keep smoking. I watched a video like the other day about like dream garages for like certain amounts of money and everything like that kind of thing. It got me kind of thinking on that, and I think the video was from Doug DeMuro, and he was like, "Here's how I'd rebuild like my garage for like $150,000 or something like that, instead of like the $3 million garage he has, or some crazy wild stuff like that." And he mentioned the NSX in that video. And I was like, wow, NSXs are really cool. Like I've thought they were cool for a while, but I'm like, I never see them in my local area. And then today I see two of them. Although actually, I did get sent a photo from my family members a while back. My dad was out shopping, and where he was shopping, there were like six or seven NSXs all parked side by side, like it was an NSX meet, which I was like, wait, what? That's wild. So I guess there's enough NSXs in my local area for there to be an owner's club. So I guess there's enough in my local area for that sort of meetup and everything like that kind of thing. But what would like my dream, let's say 3-car garage be? Now, low-key, I'm tempted to make a whole video about this, and I might do this in the future. But I'm just gonna say some of the cars I'm thinking about on video right now. So dream 3-car garage, I'm gonna have to start off with, of course, my 1985 Mercedes-Benz W123 300D turbo diesel sedan as just like my daily driver. I love it. It's a great car, great on the highway, surprisingly good on the highway for how old it is. I love it. Dream like truck, because of course I'd want a truck as well. I'm kind of split half and half, because I'd love a Land Cruiser 70 series pickup with the V8 diesel, and that'd be so good. But also I love G-Wagons. I do also really like G-Wagons, and a G-Wagon 2-door long wheelbase troop carrier, oh, that would be so good, especially if it was panel van. Oh man, that would be so nice. Really expensive. That would be like 70 grand to get over here and to do everything with and everything like that. I'd want that in diesel, probably with a 4-speed. I say as I don't know how to drive manual. And then like dream like sports car, you know, I really don't have any interest in like McLarens or Ferraris or Lamborghinis or anything like that kind of thing. They'd be cool, but I don't really have any interest in one. I'd have to say, you know, probably Miata NSX or like a Lotus. Yeah, those would be so mint. Yeah, Dream 3-car garage, 1985 W123 turbo diesel sedan, which is what I'm actually sitting next to right now. You guys can see it just a little bit, just right there in the lens of my camera, in the lens of my sunglasses and whatnot, because I'm sitting right next to it right now. So of course, got to include the car I own right now because I love it. It's my absolute dream car. Then like a G-Wagon or a Land Cruiser 70 series pickup truck. But if it was going to be a G-Wagon, it would have to be a 1980s G-Wagon, long wheelbase, 2-door, panel van version. And then probably the Lotus. Yeah, probably the Lotus. Yeah. Lotus Evora, that's the name. It's a Lotus Evora. Yeah, Lotus Evora. That would be it. I'm gonna go with that. That's like under $150,000 right there. Not that I can afford that. I cannot afford that. But you know, if I had the money and I had the room, you know, those 3 cars sound pretty good to me. And I've heard the Lotus Evora is actually pretty daily drivable as well. So that'd be pretty baller. That would be pretty baller. Daily drive a Lotus Evora, yes sir. Thing is though, like with the G-Wagon, like it'd probably be like 45 to 70 grand depending on not only the condition of the G-Wagon, but also just what the selling price at the time is and where I'm buying, where I can find one, because those are really uncommon. The specific specification I want is very uncommon. So like, that's expensive, but like at the same time, for probably like just a little bit more, I could get a brand new. Well, I actually couldn't get a brand new because in the United States they don't sell Land Cruiser 70 series. But I could get like a 25-year-old Land Cruiser 75 series with the naturally aspirated diesel V8 with probably low miles for like 50 grand. I don't know. I'd have to drive both of them before I really figure it out, in all honesty, because I haven't driven either of those. But I really like both of them. I really like both of them. One car I do wish we had in the United States was the new Toyota Hilux Champ. Like, no joke, if they actually sold it in the United States, I might actually, if they sold it in the United States, for the price they're selling the new Toyota Hilux Champ in Thailand, because I think they're selling it in like Thailand and other countries around there and stuff like that kind of thing. Because I think it's like 10 grand for the base model, which the base model is like a turbo 4-cylinder diesel. It's like 10 grand. I would be buying one of those. That would be so good. I'd love a Hilux Champ as a car here. Sadly, I'm not sure if Toyota's ever going to be selling that here, but I'd love it if they did. That would be amazing. I've been nerding out about cars, though. I've been ignoring what this cigar is actually like. I suppose I should probably talk about what the cigar is like just a little bit more so than not as well, now shouldn't I? But what's the taste of the cigar I've been smoking today? The Partagas Black Label Magnifico cigar that I've been smoking today. What's the taste, how's the taste developed over the last couple minutes or so? Has it developed? It has developed a little bit. The second third is definitely a little bit different than the first third, for sure. But it's not like insanely different. The main tastes you experience in the first third are still very much there in the second third. But the orientation of the tastes change just a little bit. And so while there's really no brand new tastes in the second third, you do get a little bit of a different taste in the third third, which does keep you a little bit interested. I'd have to say the taste in the third third is once again very much that of a sweet, savory, spicy taste, but with the sweetness being more understated this time. and the savoriness being a little bit more understated as well. It's become a little bit just more spicy as a whole, but not to an overwhelming degree. The flavor is still very nice, and there's still actually flavor. It's not just pure spice like some cigars. And the taste, in my personal opinion, of the second third is very much that the taste in the second third is very much that of a mildly sweet, slightly earthy, but not farmyardy coffee creamer taste with a little bit of nuttiness in there as well. Not really any sweetness coming from that sort of taste, but it's becoming very much roasted. Like, it was already roasted. I'm getting more jumped up. I need to think about this maybe for a moment longer. So the taste of the second third is very much that of, as said, a little bit of sweet, a little bit of savory, a little bit of spice, with the sweetness being that of a little bit of coffee creamer, a little bit of roasted, a little bit of coffee creamer with a brown sugar molasses undertone, with a little bit of roasted peanuts and almond as well, just a little bit of a roasted nutty taste. So it's sort of a roasted nutty sort of sweet coffee creamer like taste as a whole, but it's not like super sweet by any means. Then under that, there's a little bit of a just savory dark chocolate like flavor with a little bit of a sauce in there as well, but the main spicy taste now is very much that of a dark chocolate, slightly roasted peanut almond taste with an undertone of that teriyaki and barbecue sauce that I mentioned in the first third. So really, most of the flavors now have kind of congealed into more of the spicy, savory territory. And when you're smoking the cigar slowly, all those sort of spicy tastes come across as being more savory, but when you're smoking a little bit fast, they come across as being a little bit more, well, spicy. I'd have to say the most prevalent taste now is very much that of that dark chocolate, molasses brown sugar, roasted peanut almond like taste, then with an undertone of that saucy teriyaki and barbecue sauce like taste. Then under that, there's a little bit of that sort of savory dark chocolate, and then under that, there's a little bit of that milky coffee creamer, brown sugary sort of like flavor as well. And that's very much what the taste of the second third of this cigar is like. It's definitely a little bit more spicy than that as a whole, but not overwhelmingly so, and the spiciness actually does have a flavor that I do really appreciate. This cigar is definitely doing a good job of keeping me interested. I ain't gonna lie, y'all. This cigar does not have the most depth of flavor that I've ever experienced from a cigar in the past, but it's definitely got a good amount, and it's definitely not overwhelming me by any means. And I'd have to say, really, the amount of flavor this cigar has is about right just for a cigar that you kind of want to smoke. You want to think about it a little bit, but you don't want to have to think about, like, to an insane degree. I've smoked one or two cigars along with a bunch of pipe tobacco that you really have to think about to an insane degree, and it's really nice to smoke, but it's not something that you really want to smoke all the time. This is interesting enough to make you think. It's interesting enough to keep you interested, but it's not interesting enough to make you where you're like, I can't smoke this all the time. It's just kind of tiring to think about it's kind of tiring to think about the taste all the way through the cigar. You don't have to think about the taste all the way through the cigar that much. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. So this cigar, while it is flavorful, which is something I really like, and while it does have a very nice taste to it, it's not the most flavorful. It doesn't have the most depth of the taste, but it has just about the perfect amount to make this a good daily cigar in my personal opinion. And the flavor that is there keeps you quite interested, and it's just a nice flavor as a whole, I definitely have to say. The airflow of this cigar has continued to get a little bit more and more and more open as I have continued smoking my way through the cigar, and the draw, while it is still a little bit heavier than not, it has gotten a little bit lighter since the very beginning of the cigar, I definitely have to say. And one thing that I didn't mention when I mentioned the taste, because I don't notice it on every hit, but I am noticing it now that I'm kind of smoking a little bit. And I mentioned this right when we got to the when we got to the second third, not first third, but right when we got to the second third, got more just a little bit jumbled up. Right when we got to the second third of this cigar, I started noticing a little bit of an herbal taste, and I definitely have to say there is a little bit of an herbal taste in this cigar. Yeah, no, there definitely is. There's definitely a little bit of an herbal taste in there as well. So the second third very much has the taste that I previously described, plus a little bit of an herbal taste as well, which is very nice. It's sort of like an herbal menthol taste without the menthol. It's just sort of an herbal taste, I guess, is really the right way of putting it. It's a nice flavor. I don't mind it one bit. And it definitely does add to the taste just a little bit more so than not. And it's a taste that I didn't really get from the first third. I just saw a new Buick drive by. It's turning this way. I think you guys might see it in the background of the camera, depending on which way it turns and whatnot. But it's like a Buick crossover, but it's like one of those coupe crossovers or whatever kind of thing. And yes, it's going right there. So it's like a little bit of a coupe crossover or whatever. It's got like a slanted rear back hatch and whatnot. But it's a Buick. And every time I see one, I'm like, that looks like a BMW. Like, I might not really like the look of like coupe crossovers all that much, or coupe crossovers, whatever you want to call it, like the BMW, like I think it's like the X5 coupe crossover, whatever it's called kind of thing. I can't remember what the actual name for it is. I'm not really the biggest fan of the looks of those, but I gotta hand it to the people who designed the new Buick. It looks really nice, and it looks like a BMW. That's my personal take, at least. I think they did a very good job with the styling of the new one. And I feel like this ash is probably going to fall off sometime soon, so I'm going to be a little bit careful. We're definitely approaching the third though. It's definitely starting to get a little bit more spicy, to say the least. I'd have to say this cigar is probably a solid like hour 15, hour 30-minute smoke, if I had to guess at least. Been smoking right now for about 50 minutes or so, 45, 50 minutes or so, I want to say. And we're just now getting to around about the third. So I have to say, if you smoke partway into the third, it's probably about an hour 15-minute smoke, or probably about an hour 5-minute smoke. If you smoke a little bit more through the third, probably about an hour 15, hour 30-minute smoke, depending on how far you go. The ash does look like it's about to fall off though, so I'm just being a little bit careful. I'm not trying to hold it over me so it falls on me again. Don't want that to happen again. As a whole though, would I say that I am enjoying this cigar? I would. I would say that I am enjoying this cigar. I'm not generally one for cigars that are particularly spicy by any means, but I like this. This is not bad. I'm enjoying it a little bit more so than not. And it's definitely not one of those cigars that kind of becomes not very good once you hit the band either. There's some cigars out there that I've smoked that once it hits the band, it just becomes overwhelmingly spicy and it's just not really all that good anymore. This is not like that. I've been smoking through the band and it's still plenty good. So this is not one of those cigars, and that's something I really do appreciate, especially for the $14 price tag. You know, overall, I gotta say, I'm liking this cigar a little bit more so than not. I am. I'm gonna go ahead and plug in my phone real quick, though, because I am afraid. My phone's on full brightness. I don't need to run it on full brightness, but since my phone is recording, I can't actually change the brightness of my phone while it is recording, and I'm afraid my phone might be getting a bit low on charge. I forgot to check what my phone charge was before I started making this video, which is something I usually do, but I completely forgot to do for this video. So just to be careful, just to make sure my phone does not die partway through, I am just gonna go ahead and real quick plug in my phone, if I can. Nope, got my cord the wrong way. Go. And there we go. Hopefully that works. My phone is plugged in, and hopefully now it won't die. This cigar, though, is pretty decent. I'm liking it. So far, do I feel like this cigar is worth the $14 I paid for it? You know? I don't know if I'd spend $14 on this cigar to smoke as a regular cigar by any means. I think there's other cigars out there that are just as good as, or almost as good for a very comparable price, if not less. Or sorry, for literally less money. So I think there are other cigars out there that are comparable for less money. But comparable in just quality and maybe not the exact taste, but just the depth of taste and everything like that kind of thing for less money. For $14, I could get a bunch of cigars that could give me a similar experience to this to some extent. So this cigar could not be a daily smoke of mine, but it's something that I am very glad I spent the money on to try. I do think $14 was definitely worth it to try a Partagas cigar for the first time, and in specific, Partagas Black Label Magnifico cigar. I'm not sure if we're really into the third yet, but we're definitely going to be reaching it soon, and the taste is definitely changing a little bit, and it's definitely gotten a little bit more spicy, I'd have to say. Not to any real extreme degree, but I have to say the taste now is getting a little bit more milky again, which is very surprising. It's not really super earthy anymore, nor is it really super leathery, but, or no, there's still a little bit of leather in there, but it's definitely getting a little bit more milky now, which is very interesting. Yeah. Taste is definitely changing a little bit. Oh, and the ash just fell off, but it didn't fall off onto me. Certainly no complaints on my behalf, that is for sure. Oh, glad it did not fall off onto me. Let me tell y'all what. So I think with that we can say, with some certainty, that we are now into the third. I have this personal conspiracy theory that the ash is designed to fall off at every third. If cigar manufacturers wanted to, they could definitely design a cigar that would not ash at all, but they don't on purpose, because it just makes more sense for the cigar to ash. And this cigar, all the way through the smoking experience, one thing I've forgotten to mention is that it does have a little bit of tongue bite. Definitely getting a little bit of tongue bite from this cigar just from the spiciness, but it's nothing to any extreme degree by any means. And now that I'm really into the third, my lips are starting to burn just a little bit as well, but nothing to any extreme degree right now. I'm gonna keep smoking until I feel like I don't want any more. I'm not too concerned about stubbing the cigar out at this point, but I do want to also let y'all know what the third is like, so I'm gonna do that, and then after that I'm gonna stub out the cigar whenever I'm feeling like it. I'm going to take a couple more hits and really try to figure out what the third is actually like, though. It really is good cigar smoking weather. The sun is starting to go down now. We're very much, I wouldn't say we're quite at dusk yet, but we're definitely getting close to it. It's definitely getting dim out here, to say the least. I don't think it's really showing up on camera very well, but it is getting dim out here, to say the least. And, no, it's nice, it's nice. It's good. It's good cigar smoking weather. It feels great out here today. Let me tell y'all what. Glad I decided to make a cigar video today. Oh man, so glad I did. It is such nice weather out here. Like, it's a little bit breezy, but honestly the breeze has been so nice. Like, I got out of my car at the park I'm at right now, and I was like, oh man, it's a bit windy. I don't know if it's really gonna work for what I want to do today with the cigar video and everything like that kind of thing. But no, it's been great. The breeze has not been overwhelming by any means. Like last night, my weather was telling me there were gusts up to 19 miles an hour. It was definitely quite windy last night. It's been quite windy all throughout today. Quite windy right here where I'm sitting. But it's not too bad. It's not horrible by any means. Some leaves falling down. Guess either a branch just kind of fell or there's some squirrel up there or something like that kind of thing. The people that were changing the tire, they got their tire changed. Glad they did. Glad they did. The spice is starting to get a little bit more overwhelming though, I will admit. So I think I'm just going to take a couple more hits, let you guys know what the third is like, and then after that I'm probably going to be done. So what's the third like? Well, I'd have to say this third is very much overwhelmingly spicy. It's definitely very much a spicy finish. I don't really like spicy finishes all that much, but there's not really many cigars out there that don't have a spicy finish. And of course, this one does have a spicy finish, as I previously said. So the main taste from the cigar for the third very much is that spicy taste. But the taste I'm getting isn't only spice. I'm also getting some other tastes as well. For example, I'm getting a little bit of a sweet, milky, creamy taste. But that's really the only non-spicy taste I'm getting. Other than that, I'm getting a little bit of a spicy, herbal, dark chocolate, roasted nuts, almost like peanut butter, or not peanut butter, but almost just like roasted peanut slash almond, more roasted almond now than peanut, with a little bit of an undertone of a sort of saucy, like spicy, teriyaki-like taste that I have to say, or spicy barbecue taste. Yeah. Is there anything else going on? One thing I've liked about the cigar quite a bit, I didn't need to touch it up at all. I lit it okay. I didn't do a fantastic job of lighting it, but I did an okay job. And I haven't had to touch it up all the way through. I like that. That's something I really appreciate. I can definitely tell this is a quality cigar. Are Partagas quality cigars? Well, based off of this first experience, at least, I can say yes. At least the Dominican ones are. I don't know about the Cuban ones. But this one is. Well, yeah, I'd have to say the taste from the final third, from the third, to say it once and for all, is very much that of a milky, creamy, slightly sweet, sort of just milky, creamy sort of taste, I'd have to say. Almost like a little bit of a sort of a, I'd have to say powdered sugar like taste. You know what I'm saying? Not really a brown sugar molasses like taste in with that anymore. But you know, I'd have to say that's definitely the sweetness of the third. Very much that of a milky, creamy, sweet, almost sort of powdered sugar like sweetness, I definitely have to say. But there's still being a little bit of a savory dark chocolate sort of taste in there as well. But the main overwhelming tastes are coming from the spiciness. And the spiciness is very much that of an herbal dark chocolate with an undertone of roasted almond and a little bit of peanut as well, and along with a little bit of, I'd have to say, that saucy taste with a little bit of that sort of spicy teriyaki barbecue sauce like taste. And that's very much what the taste is like in the third. In the third, the airflow is better and more wide open than ever. And in the third, the draw is a little bit lighter than not. It's not the lightest, but it's still lighter than it was at the very beginning, to say the least. The overall quality of the cigar has been pretty good all the way through. And I'd have to say, strength-wise, this cigar is definitely a mid to high 3 to 4, just right off the bat. I'll have to kind of think about what the strength is really like in a little while. Roughness, smoothness-wise, the third is very much that of a mid 3 to 4. And strength-wise, I'd have to say it's like a mid to high 3 to 4, as said. Well, I don't really have anything else to say about the third, so I think I'm going to go ahead and start giving you guys my final thoughts as I continue puffing away, as I'm not quite done with this cigar. The spicy finish is overwhelmingly spicy, but it's not burning my lips to any insane degree spicy right now, at least. So let's go ahead and start covering my final thoughts on my first ever time smoking a Partagas cigar and my final thoughts on this specific cigar, the Partagas Black Label Magnifico cigar from the Dominican Republic. So what are my final thoughts on Partagas as a brand, just based off of this initial experience at least? Well, right off the bat, I can definitely say higher quality cigars than not. Definitely has a little bit more depth to the flavor than not. Not the most depth I've ever experienced, but a good amount of depth, and really the perfect amount for a daily smoke in my personal opinion. A little bit too pricey for my wallet, I will acknowledge, but if you like spending money on cigars, I do think this might be a good brand to spend money on, frankly put. And, overall, my general first experience with Partagas as a brand has been much more positive than not, and it's definitely made me want to try more Partagas cigars, that is for sure. But what are my final thoughts on this specific cigar? Well, I'd have to say I like the flavor in the first third, I like the flavor in the second third, I like the flavor in the third. The airflow coming all the way through the smoking experience was a little bit more constricted than not, but not bad by any means. The draw has definitely been consistently a little bit heavier than not. Very much a medium heavy draw, but satisfyingly heavy, I definitely have to say. And overall, I've had a good experience. This specific cigar, in my personal opinion, is very much a mid 3 to 4 roughness and smoothness wise. And strength wise, it's very much a 3.5, 3.6 out of 4, I'd have to say as well. Definitely stronger than not, but not like super strong by any means. Definitely a good, full-flavored, full-strength cigar, but not one that's going to completely wipe you out with nicotine by any means. I've definitely had stronger tobacco, that is for sure. Have I had stronger cigars? Not too many, but I have had 1 or 2 stronger cigars. This one's definitely a little bit stronger than that. It is one of the stronger cigars I've ever tried, though. Overall, though, would I buy a Partagas Black Label Magnifico again, or just a Black Label Partagas in general again? I don't think I would mind buying one again. The taste from this cigar is not exactly to my personal preference, I will acknowledge. It's not exactly my personal thing. It's not a cigar that I would buy on a routine basis, not only because of the price, but also just because there's other cigars that I would much rather have as a daily cigar, because I prefer the taste of them and I prefer the price of them as well. But this is still not a bad cigar. And if I was craving a sort of saucy-like flavor from a cigar, right now for me it would come down to 2 cigars. The Drew Estate Blackened M81 Maduro cigar and this one. Those are really the only 2 cigars that have ever given me a sort of saucy, like teriyaki or barbecue-like flavor. And so if I wanted a flavor that was specifically saucy and barbecue and teriyaki-like, it would be a choice between this cigar and one of the Blackened M81 Maduro cigars. And honestly, they're both really good. I can't really put one above the other. But if I wanted a flavor like that from a cigar, I'd definitely buy this cigar or one of those again. And I have faith that I would enjoy it. I have faith that I would enjoy a second cigar of this nature. Overall, my first ever experience with a Partagas cigar has definitely been much better than not. This specific cigar has definitely been much better than not. The most comparable cigar to this cigar very much is the Drew Estate Blackened M81 Maduro cigar, if you ask me at least. And overall, yeah, I've enjoyed this cigar. It's been a pretty good smoke, even with a little bit more of a spicy flavor. It's not overwhelming at the very end, which is something I really, really, really do appreciate, frankly put. But what is the rating I want to give this cigar? Well, this is a cigar that I would definitely buy again for its MSRP. I wouldn't even feel the need to just buy this cigar if it was only if it was on sale. I would not mind paying like $12 to $14 for this cigar again. I wouldn't really pay $15 for this cigar. It's just a bit too much. But, for $14, I don't feel like this cigar is a bad buy, especially just to try. It's a bit too much to be a daily smoke, but, just to try this cigar, I don't feel like $14 is a bad... I don't feel like $14 is a bad... I don't think this cigar is a bad way to spend $14. Let me just put it that way, kind of thing. I'm thinking this cigar deserves a very solid 3 out of 4. A very solid 3 out of 4 in my personal opinion. For context, my rating scale goes from a 1 to 4, with 1 being like, this is terrible, never smoked. That's like a Swisher Sweet territory. A 2 out of 4 is like, you know, this is okay. It's not something I would buy again, but like it's not horrible by any means. That's like a My Father Lee Bayou territory, for me at least. I know that might be controversial, but that's my personal take. 3 out of 4 is very much like the Drew Estate M81, the Drew Estate blackened M81 Maduro cigar. I can't remember if I gave that a 4 out of 4 or a 3 out of 4. I cannot remember. It's like a high 3 out of 4, if not a 4 out of 4. And this is very much in the same territory, very much a 3 out of 4. A cigar that I would not mind buying again, but something that there are better options out there and is a bit expensive for my personal wallet, I will admit. But not a bad cigar by any means. Definitely a cigar I would not mind buying with my own money again. And a 4 out of 4 is like, oh my god, this is amazing, this is a masterpiece, this is perfect, this is the best cigar ever, no matter the price kind of thing, this is amazing. It's like Arturo Fuente Hemingway territory. I love the Arturo Fuente Hemingway cigars. Or at least the ones I've tried so far. I really like the signature in specific. This is very much a 3 out of 4. As said, something I would buy again, but not something I would buy all the time, and something that there are cigars that I prefer over this cigar and whatnot. But still, a 3 out of 4 for the Partagas Black Label Magnifico cigar. I almost forgot what the Magnifico, I almost forgot that word. But, you know, 3 out of 4 for this cigar right here. I've had a great experience with Partagas as a brand. My first ever experience with Partagas as a brand has been a good one. And my first ever experience with this specific line of Partagas cigars has been a good one as well. I've had a good time today, and I certainly got no complaints on my behalf. That is for sure. Well, I think that's pretty much all I had to say for this video today. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys ever tried a Partagas cigar before. If you guys have, let me know what you guys think of them. Do you guys like them? Do you guys not? Let me know in the comments down below. And let me know if you guys have tried this specific cigar as well. If you guys have, let me know what you guys think of it. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys, where I tried a Partagas cigar for the first time, where I smoked a Partagas cigar for the first time. Certainly hope you guys have enjoyed watching this video. If you guys have enjoyed watching this video, of course, please make sure to like and subscribe for more content. I have my Instagram, my book, my merch, my P.O. Box, and my second channel all in the description down below. Make sure to go check it all out. You know, thank you so much for watching, y'all. Till the next one, stay safe and peace, and have a great one. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying?